My name's Grant Wordsworth. I'm Quality Manager for Affinity Water.
Grant, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Affinity Water podcast series today. We're looking at the 170-year plus history of Affinity Water. It's gone through numerous name changes over that time, including 10 years ago when it became Affinity Water, and we are this summer celebrating the 10th anniversary of Affinity Water, but 170 years in all, beginning I think with the Folkestone Water Company, the first piped water supply outside London. So tell us, what attracted you to work for a water company, and in particular Affinity Water?
I joined before it became Affinity Water, I was attracted as it's my local water company. My family is also my family's local water company as well, so I have to keep my mother-in-law happy. And it was local. So I've spent years working in Europe, years working across the United Kingdom, and actually having a local job appealed to me at my time of life.
And did you begin your career as an engineer? What technical qualifications suited you to the water industry?
My technical qualifications actually are, as you say, an engineer, but my role in Affinity Water is management, business management and emergency preparedness. So it's looking at resilience, but the engineering background I have really comes in handy in understanding the technical speak during incidents and emergencies, and day-to-day business as usual activities as well.
So dealing with emergencies, that seems a fairly responsible job. People don't understand just how important it is to keep the taps flowing, not just in terms of household consumption, but hospitals, mothers with babies at home, people on dialysis. So it's a really high profile and responsible job. How do you go about your tasks day to day?
Well, we identify the risks. We identify processes that we need to have on the standby and be prepared for. We rehearse those, and every now and again, unfortunately, we have to implement them. And from those implementations, we learn from where things didn't work properly or where things could be improved. Because as you said, the customer is key. Public safety is paramount. Getting water to customers, whether they're vulnerable or just general customers, is really important to us and is one of our obligations under what parts of the legislation that we have assigned to us.
Do you ever find, my goodness, an emergency can happen at any time of the day or night. You get rung up, you say that people may be without water. What happens next?
Well, I can get called any time of day, any time of night. At 2:30 in the morning, we may get a phone call to say there's potentially 50,000 customers to be without water by breakfast time. Then the cogs start to work, people assemble, processes get identified, teams put in place, and the risk is mitigated as much as possible or the impact reduced. And obviously, if necessary, we implement alternative emergency water supplies just to make sure customers have water. So it can be pretty hectic for the first 5 or 6 hours before a routine is identified. Most of all, the first few hours is always about identifying that true risk and getting knowledge on the situation.
And also collaborations, because you have to deal with the emergency services more generally.
Indeed, sometimes it's the emergency services that tell us we have a problem, so we have to collaborate with them and we work with them. If the situation or the risk to customers is large enough, we engage with what's known as the local resilience forums, where they can provide adequate resources and extra resources from volunteer organisations such as Red Cross, Boy Scouts, Women's Institute. They can provide accommodation through local authorities and, if necessary, police or fire brigade attendance if there's a significant burst of flooding.
Now, you've spoken personally about having engineering qualifications and coming into the industry and Affinity Water being your local supplier, but you have some letters after your name, and in particular 3 quite high-profile national organisations. Do you just want to tell our listeners about them?
Sure, yeah, I'm a chartered quality professional. That means I've been assessed by the Chartered Quality Institute, of which I'm a member and mentor as well, and they've granted me the status to use Chartered through the professionalism. I'm also a specialist in the International Institute of Risk and Safety Management through looking at risk and safety and actually being able to demonstrate competence and having my assessment judged by peers. So that's always a challenging one. Obviously, it's always beneficial to have a third one as well. And in this particular case, Affinity Water has an awful lot of assets that can fail. So being a member of the Institute of Asset Management provides insight on how things should be managed, where risks are, how to mitigate those risks, and what processes are needed to control any situation.
So basically, these organisations, they guarantee a professional standard, and then you get tested and judged on those standards at intervals.
Indeed, and you have to maintain what they refer to as continual professional development, which is known as CPD, and means you have to attend training courses, attend sessions, present materials, write reports, just to demonstrate you are still capable and still competent to meet their expectations.
When you talk to Affinity Water employees, they talk about how interesting the work is and how no 2 days are the same. Did you realise that when you came into the industry?
No, to be quite honest with you, I was quite naive about the water industry. I thought water fell out of the sky as rain, got picked up somewhere and came out of my tap. Understanding the science and the engineering behind it was quite a shock on day one, but fortunately my engineering background managed to guide me through those days. So yes, it was quite a shock right at the beginning.
What about youngsters or people of any age wanting to get a job with Affinity Water and enter the industry? What's your advice to them, and what kind of skills will they need?
These day and age, things have changed from when I started. Digital information, the use of digital technology is key. The ability to analyse situations and the ability to respond. Those are the principal fundamentals of any water company. Not just Affinity Water, I have to be honest, there are other water companies out there for anybody who wants a job in the industry. But more importantly, I'd actually think I would recommend that you would join an institute. Not necessarily the institutes that I'm members of, but there are other institutes like the Institute of Environmental Management or the International Register of Certified Auditors, where they can actually guide you and develop you in a career that is of benefit to Affinity Water.
Now, I've spoken to some of our employees in the field, in the community ops teams, and they began their careers with Affinity Water digging holes. But it's also much more varied than that. There are admin jobs, there are HR jobs, there are IT jobs. So the range of jobs on offer with Affinity Water is quite broad.
It is indeed. I mean, as you say, that there are jobs around putting pipes in the ground or repairing pipes in the ground. But obviously behind that, they have to be designed. So there's design engineering functions. They have to be tested to make sure they're suitable to carry water and will not pollute or will not cause public harm through poisoning. So there's scientists as well. And every piece of data we gather has to be analysed. So there are data analysts and data scientists too. So yeah, the jobs are varied across Affinity Water. There's no two jobs are the same, and you can progress through the company from one end to the other.
Well, we talked earlier about the 170-year plus history of Affinity Water beginning in Folkestone, but how important are the skills on a personal level within Affinity Water and the sense of team for people to pass those skills and share them with others?
Teamworking is key. There are currently more than 50 teams in Affinity Water that have to work together to get customers water. And it has to be wholesome water, so that can be through testing water quality that's coming out of a fitting that's just been installed by a team on the ground, that's just been designed by some modelers and design engineers to meet a specific need. So it is an extremely varied business, And collaboration is key. Otherwise, we could end up all rowing in different directions. We all have to pull together. So speaking to different teams on different days is really common.
And you can train on the job. You can train for other roles too. And we also are now doing a training programme for graduates.
Indeed, there's training on the job. There's apprenticeships, there's training for graduates, there's training for new managers. We undertake this training in-house and we use experienced personnel, and we use actually competent and qualified personnel and assessors to just make sure that we're on the right track and everybody understands and everybody learns.
Grant, I'm going to put you on the spot now after 10 minutes, and thank you for talking to the Affinity Water podcast series today. Your best and worst moments.
Well, obviously the best moment was joining Affinity Water. No, that's not quite true. There are the best moments. I have to start with the worst case scenario here, is being phoned up one morning about 6:20 saying there's 150,000 customers without water. That's a phenomenal number of customers that we would have to supply bottled water to, working out the logistics to that, making sure the risks were identified, alternative rerouting, remodelling was done on the network, actually resulted in my best day, because 12 hours later, no customers had been without water, and there was a degree of job satisfaction when everybody came to get together to deliver a reasonably case scenario and a great outcome.
Well, that sounds like a best and a worst moment. Anything else to share with us?
No, not really, apart from you can have best and worst moments any day here. It can be fun as well. Obviously, I do have more than 3 key words in this particular case. I actually have 4 key words for anybody who wants to join Affinity Water. It doesn't matter what you do, what task you're underdoing, even through applying for a job. Plan everything. Do what you plan. Say what your plan is. Check that your plan's working, and if it's not, put it right. Plan, do, check, act. 4 key words.
Plan, do, check, act. Grant Wordsworth, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Affinity Water podcast series today, looking at careers in the industry. I've enjoyed it so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Bonnie.